Hello, fellow Jeep 4xe fans. Today, I'm conducting an experiment on whether or not it makes sense to use esave on the freeway or not. Chris Hall has been kind enough to post a video about the difference in M8 mode versus hybrid mode, where at freeway driving and you're going to use the whole gas tank, it really makes no difference because energy is energy. Now, my theory is that you should save your battery for city street driving and then e-save on the freeway so that you're saving your battery for when you get off for pit stops. So this is the experiment we're conducting. We're going to drive about 370 miles total. So we're going to use our whole tank and have to fill up, and then we'll fill up at our destination so that we can see what kind of mileage we got. On our return trip, same route, same distance, we'll do hybrid mode the whole way and burn the whole battery on the freeway. And then we'll compare what our actual mile per gallon usage is. So this is what our gauge looks like as we're leaving. You can see that we are on a completely full tank of gas. I have not used one drop of that gas since I filled it up. And then we've used almost 50% of the battery driving around town at city speeds as expected to go to breakfast, pick up supplies, etc. So I will leave it like this until we get on the freeway and get up to speed. And then I will switch to e-save mode to save whatever battery is left for our pit stops on our journey. Okay, now we are on the freeway. We are up to speed. I'm now switching into e-save mode to save that 41% of the battery for our first pit stop. All right, so as you can see, we're 120 miles or so into our trip, and I switched back into electric mode because we've run into some construction/major accident. So I'm in bumper traffic, 97 degrees outside, the AC running. So I switched it into electric mode. Apparently, this is precisely what I was e-saving the battery for. So once we get going again, I'll put it back into e-save mode. All right, so now we have arrived at our destination, and we've driven around town on all electric mode, basically, with our remaining battery. It's time to fill up and see how we did on this leg. All right, let's look at the numbers. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised how well that first leg went. I was really happy with the results. We managed 384.3 miles, switching in and out of e-save, depending on if we were on the freeway or not. And then to fill it back up, and I did make sure that I got that tank full back up, 13.469 gallons. We stopped for food once. There was one inexplicable traffic delay. Never did find out what happened. And we did 2 potty breaks. So we got off the freeway at least 3 times plus that traffic delay. So you do the division, and we managed to get 28.5 miles for every gallon of gas that was used. Okay, so now let's see how we did on the way back. Okay, 4xe fans, I'm about to start on the second leg of my test adventure to see how hybrid mode compares with the flipping e-save on and off depending if I'm on or off the freeway. To be fair, I'm starting my journey in hybrid mode with full battery. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of driving around the city before I make it to the highway, but nothing like what I was doing before the first leg. So probably I'll do maybe 5 miles before I actually get on the freeway. Either way, I'm just going to leave this thing in hybrid mode. All of the things the same. I'll keep my cruise at 62 miles an hour, but by the time I get off my first pit stop, I will have no battery left, so I'll be in hybrid mode again, where it wants to turn the gas engine on after every stop and start, as soon as you get to like 10 miles an hour. So we'll see how that compares. I will fill up again as soon as I arrive back from where I left from before. Freeway and up to cruising speed. You see my cruise set at 62 miles an hour, and hybrid mode is keeping me in hybrid electric mode. Gonna use up all this battery. I'll let you know when it finishes with the battery. All right, and there we have it. I've switched over to the engine being turned on at less than 1%. I got about 5 miles out of city driving and 20 miles-ish on the freeway before it ran out of battery. So now we'll see how hybrid mode, keeping the battery at its reserve level, does as compared to the esave that I did on the first leg of the trip. So here we are about 3/4 of the drive back and stuck in some delay. Would be nice to have some battery right now, but it's okay. We'll see how we do by the end of the trip. All right, so we have made it home, and I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised how poorly hybrid mode did. We made it all the way to Phoenix with 1 tank of gas and plenty to spare. I just barely made it home. You can see that my range is not even giving me a mile because I'm less than 30 miles remaining because I'm so out of gas, which is strange considering the miles driven are about the same. So I'm going to fill her up now and see just exactly how much gas I used in hybrid mode as compared to the esave. Okay, so now let's look at the numbers for that return trip, which was, again, a little surprising. I thought hybrid mode would have done better. Not a direct apples-to-apples comparison because we were the reverse leg of the trip, but same distance. Okay, I had a little, I'll be honest, a little low fuel anxiety when I got off the freeway when we got home, so I filled up immediately, and it was at an unfamiliar pump, and it didn't actually fill the tank all the way. You know how the 4xe tends to cut off that fuel when you're pumping early, so you have to not pump at full speed. So then I ended up driving another 4 miles, so I've included that, to go to another pump and top off the tank to be a fair comparison. So total miles driven in hybrid mode, 374.3, and total gallons of gas used, 15.135, which resulted in 24.2 miles to the gallon. Also, you'll notice the gauge reads 42.1 electric miles. That's hybrid mode, adding electric miles every time it uses the battery to assist you. That is one difference between hybrid mode at less than 1% and actual esave. Because in hybrid mode at less than 1%, every time it gets a little extra juice back in the battery, it will turn around and use it as quick as it can. Whereas esave just left it in there. Okay, so let's talk about conclusions. I'll be honest, this kind of driving is not for everybody. I kept the cruise control pegged at 62 miles an hour. Most of Arizona, 75 mile an hour zone. People were flying past me, mad at me for going so slow, but I stayed in the slow lane, not in the ticket lane. So there's that. Now, the whole esave trick that I did, that's a lot of work. Every time I got off the freeway, I had to remember to push electric mode, and then wait until I got back on the freeway, off the entrance ramp, up to speed, then turn the esave back on, and then set to cruise control. That's a lot of work. It's really not for everybody. Hybrid mode, there's really no work involved. You set it on hybrid mode and you go, and you don't worry about it. And honestly, 24.2 miles to the gallon, that's pretty good freeway driving. That's not bad. It's good enough for most people. Yes, if you go esave mode, you can eke out a few extra miles every gallon, but it's really not required. Hybrid mode is probably good enough. But this experiment did show what I wanted it to show, which is at pretty much any battery level, it's not making the engine work any harder to maintain the battery level than if you were in hybrid mode at less than 1%. All right, your results may vary. If you want to try this experiment yourself, I would encourage that. Please try and reproduce these results. I honestly think I did better than I should have in esave mode and not as good as I should have in hybrid mode. All right, thank you everyone for your time.